Hello, good evening, and welcome to the War Room. This is day 25 of Russia's illegal incursion into Ukraine, which is slowly descending into absolute destruction, total warfare. It's Sunday. The news stories are a bit short. I forgot to jump into the War Room channel. One of these days I'm going to get it all correct. Today's not that day. Anyway, good evening to you all, and welcome, and thank you for spending your Sunday evening with us. There is going to be an us, but there's only two of us. I'll pull him in here shortly. So I have taken the time to go ahead and update the scroller and the refugee map for the day because there really isn't a lot of stories today, but there are a few that are pretty meaningful because they set the tone for probably the rest of the stories for the week. Several of which are quite disturbing, actually, and I guess we'll discuss that ad nauseum. We talked about the Dagger missile yesterday quite a bit, and after the show, I did look it up quite a bit, and we've learned that you take the high and you take the low, and the truth is somewhere in the middle. And surprisingly enough, the high is 12, the low is 10. So the truth is somewhere around Mach 11 for that missile, which is pretty frightening. It also has a 500 kilogram warhead for delivery. For its delivery system. I think it's 500 kilograms. Either way, its yield is 500 kilotons nuclear. It's pretty big for such a small warhead. If it's mounted to the MiG-31K, it can carry one. If it's mounted to the Tu-22SM, I think it's called, it can carry 4 at a time. And for some reason, if it's carried on the bomber, it has 600 miles more range. I don't know how that works. Maybe it's a larger missile. I don't really know. I didn't get a chance to really study it. I got really tired yesterday. Either way, the story I have for you about that missile being used is actually quite disturbing because it wasn't a one-off. So anyway, I only got 3 picture captions for you today. And I think I've only got about 7 stories. So we're going to get through these relatively quickly. I'm thinking about doing the shows on 8:30 on the weekdays and 9 on the weekends, just because less content, because less stories to work with. But man, truth be told, if Putin wanted to devastate the world, he should do it on a Sunday because that's when the least amount of news coverage is available. It's almost like everybody takes a day off. Anyway, good evening to you out in the chat. I see Shady Hill, Al, and Terry, so that's cool. And I'm sure everyone else will jump in. More altitude, more glide time. Well, that missile has I think it's a cruise altitude of 65,000 feet. Sorry, it's either 65,000 or 56,000. I can't remember off the top of my head now. I looked this up yesterday. So, I mean, it really gets up there. Oh, and the Finest of Apes is here too. Cool. So let me go ahead and pull in Scott. He's already here. Good evening to you. I'm sort of sitting around going, where the hell did my weekend go? As usual. Oh, I gotta fix my headline thing too, because apparently I didn't cut it correctly. Sorry about that. Let me just fix this. Doing it real. Doing it live. There you go. Still ain't got it right. Damn it. There we go. That looks about right. Okay, we'll go with that. Gotta get rid of the stupid bar at the top. Anyway, yeah, my whole weekend was nothing but video games, because I finally got a chance to play some. It was cool. I haven't recorded anything video game related since this all started. I haven't recorded much of anything since this started. I've been doing mostly these. This morning you may have checked your feed and saw that there was a new Pwnery's firearm reviews. That was for the Smith & Wesson M500-4 backpacker, which is the revolver with the bear prints and the bear head laser engraved on the side plate. I've actually had that gun for almost 10 years now, I think. Figures it took me this long to make the video, huh? There's a lot of my wheel guns that are going to show up every Sunday, so... Anyway, next week will be what that gun replaced, if I'm not mistaken. I got to edit the video probably after this show. That way I can just have it ready to go so I don't sweat it before release day.
Because you're trying to give Yankee a run for his money.
No, he's got way more wheel guns than I do. I mean, I've got some really iconic ones and some really nice ones, but I mean, he's got volume for sure. I mean, he's got like what, 5 rhinos? Yeah.
I think he got rid of the rhinos. I think that's some of the guns he sold so he could buy that Korth.
You might be right. I think he kept the 40DS, the short one. But I don't know. I can't remember the last time I saw the guns on the wall on his video. I'm sure he's still got some, though. He's still got the 460V also. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started. I mean, it'll wrap up when it wraps up, but I promise this will be a quick one just because very few stories, but they're pretty poignant. So to give you an idea of time scale, yesterday we cut off by about 1 a.m., I think. 1 or 2 a.m. No, 3 a.m. Ukrainian local time. 11 hours went by before an update came out. So the first story I have for you actually takes place at 2:45 p.m. today over there. It was breakfast time for me, but, you know, 2:45 p.m., so 2:48 p.m. So a senior U.S. official has confirmed that Russia did deploy more than one of the hypersonic Dagger missiles on Saturday. Officials have stressed that the use of such a weapon is not part of an escalation towards nuclear weapons. But officials have speculated that Putin may be instead running out of precision-guided missiles. Right. Now, let me repeat part of that again. They've stressed that the use of such a weapon is not part of an escalation towards nuclear weapons. And he might be running out of precision-guided missiles. This is a missile that does Mach 11. And it hit the target they pointed it at. That's pretty precise. And he hit the target. And it's the delivery system for nuclear weapons. So in terms of we tested the delivery system, like we talked about yesterday, I would say that's absolutely an escalation. Because now they have this thing where they can just say, hey, we did put conventional warheads in it the first 2 times, and they worked great. Next time there'll be a nuke. You might want to rethink your diplomacy. Or something like that, you know what I mean? Like, if I was a dirty, nasty Russian, you know, well, one of the few remaining generals left, that would be my advice. I'd be like, hey, you should probably point out the fact that your delivery system works. And, you know, you don't want to fuck around and find out what's coming next. That kind of thing. Anyway, let's see. The finest of apes went to the gun show and found absolutely nothing. Found 2 Colt 1903 pocket hammerlesses, but he wasn't paying $1,600 for a mint one or $925 for a 40% bluing remaining. I would pay about $850 for the 40% bluing, because the Rust Blue solution is only $20, and you can do that one on your kitchen, literally in your kitchen in like 2 hours. It would look like brand new. But yeah, that's one of those guns that I wouldn't mind having, but it has to be a stupidly good deal. Making dinner?
Nope. I was just mowing down on an orange.
All right. Next story. A couple minutes after the first one, actually. And Ukrainian defense officials have intercepted documents that indicate that Russia has ordered the deployment of cadets to Ukraine. President Vladimir Putin has repeatedly told his people that the army is not utilizing cadets. But photos of the documents were posted online today and indicates that Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu has signed an order to the contrary. The deployment will see UNAMIA cadets aged 17 and 18 pushed to the front as early as this week. Now,
I think they've already been doing that because some of the kids I've seen look like kids.
Yeah, they still have pubes on their face.
Yeah.
But the thing is, there was a movie that I got. It came from Russia, and it was about a battalion of cadets. They were led by the schoolmaster, and they defended, I think, for 2 weeks against the Wehrmacht on their way towards like Moscow or something. It's a really famous story in Russian history. They all died, but man, did they take a lot of Germans with them. It stalled the push long enough for the actual army to come in and stop it. I can't remember.
Well, the Germans did the same thing.
I can't remember what it's called. It was really good, though. Let's see.
And those kids would freaking fight to the bitter end.
I just gotta look it up real quick because it's such a good story, and it has English subtitles too. I don't think it's any of those. Oh, I think it's called The Last Frontier. I think that's the one. It's really, really good. It's kind of sad too because the Russians they must have looked at Titanic and Pearl Harbor and they go, yes, we will do that. We will put in love story in the middle of war film. It'll be great. Because it's like...
And we will name it Kalashnikov.
No. Well, they did that one too, yeah. They did that one too. Good point. Very good point. Well made. No, The Last Frontier was the students. And there was a girl who was like a nurse of some sort, and she was in love with one dude, but the other dude wanted her, and they were friends and rivals in this academy or whatever. And one was like artillery, and one was a rifleman or some shit. I don't know. It was a good movie though, because the ending is like super tragic. Anyway, nobody cares about dirty Russians in their films now, but it was a good one. Sorry.
Does that mean we don't have to pay them royalty?
Yeah. No, it's... Yeah, Russian films are free to pirate. Might be. Damn it, now you're going to make me look and see if that is that right. If it's the same movie. Let's see.
Well, they seem to be in the mindset that they can take over all the McDonald's, rotate the logo 90 degrees, and rename it something else, and reopen them.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. I'm stealing it?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Sorry, that was terrible. I don't even have it anymore. Shit.
Kalashnikov?
No, I have that. I thought I had this movie called Last Frontier. But I guess I don't. Maybe I have it at work. I don't know. I digitized my whole movie collection, so it is what it is, right? Screw it. Let's move on. Let's see. About an hour later, still don't have pictures for you yet. We only had 3, but I'll tell you what, I think the last one's a real doozy. So 10 to 4. So I think they lifted the curfew. Like, I think they keep turning it on and off and changing the hours. So I'm not going to mention the curfews right now. Ukraine's defense ministry on Sunday claimed to have intelligence that suggested... Oh, is this the one that I wanted to do the picture with? Let me make sure. Okay, it's in here twice. It's actually in here twice. So the defense ministry on Sunday claimed to have have intelligence that suggested Russia has deployed more Wagner personnel, in an effort to eliminate senior political and military leaders in Ukraine. Officials said that Putin personally ordered the attack, which will target Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelenskyy, as well as Prime Minister Denis Shmyhal. But the Defense Ministry said Ukrainian Army, special services, and law enforcement agencies are well-known Kremlin plans. We are ready for the rest of the aggressor both in the front and in the back. No terrorist attacks will succeed. Okay, so Al's describing the movie almost perfectly, but I forgot the name of it. I think it was The Last Frontier. I think it is. But yeah, you nailed it. That's the actual description of the movie you're talking about. Yeah. That's the one. All right, so anyway, let's move on. This is going to be titled Invasion Plan. Okay, let's see. I got that one right here. Doesn't that guy look like a, I don't know, fat-headed Slav version of Higgins from Magnum P.I.? Yes, that's what it is. Anyway, Ukrainian officials warned on Sunday that the Belarusian military was preparing to invade at the onset of the fifth week since Russian President Putin's forces first descended on Ukraine last month. In a statement shared to Facebook, Ukraine's Ministry of Defense said that there were signs that suggested the armed forces of the Republic of Belarus were preparing for a direct invasion of Ukrainian territory. Belarus borders Ukraine to the north and was reportedly used as a staging area for Russian forces. It wasn't reported. There was over 20,000 Russians that crossed that border. It's pretty much confirmed. Ukraine's Ministry of Defense issued a stern warning for Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko. The direct involvement of Belarusian troops in the Russian armed aggression against Ukraine, contrary to the will of the military and the vast majority of the Belarusian people, will become a fatal mistake of Alexander Lukashenko, a statement said of Putin's close ally. The General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine assessed that the threat level was high for an offensive from the Republic of Belarus in the Volyn direction, according to Ukrainian online newspaper Pravda. This comes after Lukashenko recently bemoaned the fall of the Soviet Union and blamed conflicts in Ukraine and elsewhere on the monopolization of our planet by the United States of America. What is this, like a bald, pale version of the Ayatollah Khomeini? Like, he's saying the same bullshit. Anyway, there he is with his soon-to-be 6 dead generals. We'll see how well that goes. How come Russia can have multiple nations' armies fighting Ukraine and everyone else joining Ukraine is escalatory? I want to start asking that question of our local leaders. Moving right along. Okay. Now, there's a meme out there, and it shows you one picture, then it shows you another picture, and then it says, can you tell the difference between the two? And there's a meme of a girl sitting there going, they are the same picture. I'm going to give you that meme today with a very real situation. And you have to be a fan of either graphic novels or the animated versions of the graphic novels, but there was a show called Hellsing, not the Hugh Jackman movie. This is a Japanese thing. It has to do with vampires and the British and neo-Nazis and the original Nazi party who hid in the shadows after they became vampires, so to speak, or immortals. I forgot. It was either immortals or vampires, but they could make vampires artificially. So anyway, at 5:54 p.m. Ukrainian time, there was a new release, and it says, I'm going to give you the picture now, just for fun. The Ukrainian Defense Ministry warned Sunday that another group of Russian Wagner Group mercenaries had arrived in Ukraine on a mission to assassinate Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy and take out other high-ranking Ukrainian politicians on the fourth week since the invasion's onset. Another group of militants linked to Yevgeny Prigozhin, a Russian propagandist close to Putin and owner of the Liga, Wagner Group. He's the financier and the CEO, I guess you can call it. They began arriving in Ukraine today. The main intelligence director of the main intelligence directorate of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine said in social media posts today. The main task of criminals is to eliminate the top military and political leadership of Ukraine. Now Helsing came out like the
Late
comic.
90s?
The comics came out. What was it? Did they come out in the 80s?
I know the anime was like late 90s.
Late 90s, for sure, to mid 2000s, and then the actual like true to the comic story was re-released in the late 2000s to early 2000 teens. Because I got all of it. But anyway, the Wagner group is led by a Russian neo-Nazi. He's got SS medallions tattooed on his neck and shoulders and chest. And he's got that logo, which kind of reminds me of the Millennium Group in Helsing. And then the guys on the right, what that was is in that show, they sort of ghoulified. They turned them into slave zombies or slave vampires and zombies, essentially. That's why all their eyes are glowing red. Anyway, those are actual dudes from the original Wehrmacht army that were hidden away after the war had ended, and they just waited for the next time to start the war. They even had zeppelins and shit. That big red thing in the background was a zeppelin that they actually landed in London and besieged the city at the end of the... It was great. Like, the way they wrote it out was really, really good. Anyway, same group, essentially, except one's real, and the other one, you know, is a cartoon. One's a real cartoon, and one's a fake cartoon. Anyway, I shouldn't talk shit about them. They'll probably send somebody after me now. But yeah, they are the same picture, because they're the same group, more or less. Clinging on to a outdated ideology of their great-grandfathers, thinking that they're actually just as good, if not better, than that psychotic ideology. Whatever. Anyway, moving on. I'm going to take you back to our side of the pond for a moment, and it's now 11:55. It's 5 minutes to noon. Oh no, Call of Duty didn't start the Nazi zombie thing. Not even close. So 11:55 Eastern Standard Time, White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki announced Sunday that President Biden will be visiting Europe again this week. Now, I can't remember the last time he went. I know knee pads went like 2 weeks ago. Total disaster. So now Biden has to go and make it even worse, right? It's like, essentially what geopolitically what it looks like is Kamala Harris flew over to Europe and shit on the floor of world leaders' offices, and now Biden's got to go in there right after, you know, and follow up and step in it and smear it into the carpet. That's essentially what's going to happen, right? Details of the trip, including stops, have yet to be revealed, but Psaki made clear that Biden will not visit Ukraine.
No, Biden ain't got the balls to go to an active war zone.
The trip will be focused on continuing to rally the world in support of the Ukrainian people and against Vladimir Putin's invasion of Ukraine. He will not show up to Ukraine. He will not put on a brave face. Well, I don't know. You know, maybe that is a little unreasonable. First of all, he wouldn't dare show his face. After saying no so many times, no. But I mean, I guess what we're saying is Biden going to Kyiv would be sort of the equivalent of Winston Churchill walking into Berlin, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Or Paris. Let's say Paris. It would be like FDR walking into Paris while the Germans were attacking just outside the city limits. That's a more fair comparison. So they probably wouldn't do it. I don't think they did, right? They went to London. So maybe it's not unreasonable. If he goes to Poland, I guess that would be fine, right? Maybe go all the way up to that refugee camp right at the border and look at it for himself with his own eyes. That'd be cool. It'd be a great photo op. Him hugging like refugee women and groping their kids like he does with the kids here in America. Yeah, that'd be a great fucking photo op. That would be the one time where a Russian cruise missile should veer off course and land in Poland. And then Poland would be like, okay, we're going to attack. That's Article 5. And the rest of America would be like, no, don't. They did us a favor. Trust
Did
us.
they, though?
Yes. Trust us. They did us a favor. Anyway. Sorry, I'm just being playful because there's not very many stories to work with today. All right, so he's going to Europe. Day not announced. Itinerary still not announced. Because they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Details of the trip, including stops, have yet to be revealed. The only thing that they did reveal, I'm not going to Ukraine. Okay. Why don't you just say you're going to Poland? That'd be fine. I bet they don't put him in anywhere within one country's width. Like, he'll probably go to Germany. I would almost guarantee it. Germany, Paris. That's it. Probably Germany and Paris. If he goes to Poland, that's actually pretty bold. I'll give him credit for that. If he goes right to the border camp, I would say that was actually good in terms of PR. He would gain points that day, you know? Anyhow. All right, so same time, back across the pond, 5 minutes to 6, Ukraine. The UN Human Rights Office, OHCHR, reported Sunday that their estimates are that at least 902 civilians in Ukraine have been killed since the start of Russia's invasion, and a further 1,459 civilians have been injured in that time. The number for both is likely higher than what the UN has been able to record. That's true, because there are 1,300 people estimated underneath that theater in Mariupol. And they still can't get them out because the rescue crews are constantly being shot and shelled at, which means those people are going to suffocate eventually. So yeah, I'd say 902 civilians is extremely low for a figure, because that's one building in one town that's already exceeded that one number. Who the fuck does these counts, really? Moving on. An hour later, I hate this guy. God, I hate this guy. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg. Like, someone should just trip him over, step on the back of his neck, and just paint a giant yellow stripe down the back of him. Anyway, NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg sidestepped answering whether Russia potentially using chemical weapons in its invasion of Ukraine would spur on NATO to rethink imposing a no-fly zone. It does sound like what you're saying is that you don't have an answer yet on what the use of chemical weapons would do to NATO's stance about Ukraine. That was a statement to Stoltenberg during the interview on live TV on Meet the Press with Chuck Todd this morning. Like, he really stuck it to him. Any use of chemical weapons will be a blatant and brutal violation of international law. The ban on the use of chemical weapons. At the same time, we know that Russia has used chemical agents in Europe before against their own political opponents. Well, thank you for the play-by-play. The question was, are you going to do something about it? He wouldn't answer. The whole interview was just ducking and dodging. It's almost as if he's got the Biden administration playbook for how to handle press conferences. I mean, he plays it perfectly. That guy's a chicken shit.
Mm-hmm.
All right, moving on. So now I'm getting into my every hour update thing. It's kind of weird. 7:56. It's just about 8 o'clock. Dusk. This is where Russians do Russian things on a much grander scale. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelenskyy spoke Sunday to Israel's... Is it the Knesset? The K is silent, right? You're supposed to help me here. I think it's called the Knesset members, urging the government to take a clear stance against Russia with more pressure and stronger sanctions. Zelenskyy thanked Israel for playing a vital role in the mediation, but added that you can mediate between states, but not between good and evil. He also claimed that Moscow has used the same terminology of final solution and referred to the connection between Ukraine and its Jewish population. This guy is very good at pulling the right strings for the audience he's about to address. When he talked to the United States, he invoked bits of FDR, JFK, Martin Luther King Jr., and Ronald Reagan. He hit 4 generations of people in history, so everybody could relate to it in one way or another. He could have went one step further and quoted George Bush 43? Yeah, he could have quoted 43 after 9/11. That would have been big too. Anyway, he did that. He channeled Neville Chamberlain and Winston Churchill when he spoke to the British Parliament. He spoke about the Berlin Wall and the Cold War when he spoke to Germany. And now he's talking about the final solution and the wholesale slaughter of the Jewish community with the Israelis. This guy knows what he's doing. And what's amazing is every day he does this is another day I sit back and go, man, he was an actor and a comedian and a dancer. And his love for country makes him the best qualified person for the job he's doing right now, because he's done ad-lib before. But I don't think he's faking it, you know? It just doesn't... He gains nothing by faking this. Besides, if he was faking it, he would have done it in a studio, not across the street from his office with a camera pointed at it saying, "I'm still here." Like, that's kind of ballsy.
See, I thought you were going to go with, damn, I wish he was our president.
Well, I said that once before of a different world leader, and now he's the asshole we're all trying to kill, so... Nah, I'm going to reserve that. Besides, I mean, you take an actor and comedian and dancer or entertainer. We had that already. We had Ronald Reagan. So, theirs came later. It's fine. I'm just pissed off that he's a year older than me and he's that far ahead in life compared to where I'm at. I'm doing this shit. He's defending his country, you know? Anyway. Let's move on. Another hour's passed. It's now 9 o'clock Ukrainian time. Just a little shy of it. And, we're just gonna go straight into meet leader number 7. Russian deputy commander of the Black Sea Fleet, Andrei Pali, died during fighting in Ukraine. Russian state media has confirmed today. Pali was killed during fighting in the Mariupol region. The report has claimed, which must have been yesterday, day before or yesterday. He joins a growing list of senior Russian leaders who have died during the invasion so far, with Ukrainian officials claiming that their forces have killed at least 5 Russian generals. 5 generals, a colonel, and now the Black Sea Fleet Deputy Commander. That's like taking out Ray Spruance. Think about that. Ray Spruance was the substitute, right? He moved in after Bull Halsey was hospitalized, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like that. This guy's like the number 2 dude in the Black Sea, and he just got took out. They're running out of leadership. You got to admit, the Ukrainians' battle doctrine is smart. They know that it's conscripts and young people, and they're green, and they're not completely brainwashed yet. So they're taking out the old breed. They're knocking out all the command and control and leadership and moral compass of the military. And that's going to send the kids scattering. I mean, you know, it'll send the amateurs scattering. Some kids are just born hard, right? Like they're going to do what they got to do, and they're gung-ho about it from day one. There's going to be some of those. And those guys will be the next set of generals that we have to take out 10 years from now. Unless they run out of so much command and control that they have to promote up a 20-year-old kid to general. Whew. Whew.
Well, I don't think the Ukrainians are going to stop killing them, so...
Well, shades of Colonel Custer. He was pretty young when he got promoted up. Anyway, you saw how that ended, too.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so that's number 7 in terms of command and control, leadership, in theater. How many do you think they got left? I mean, seriously, how many generals do you think they have left committed to this campaign? Think about D-Day all the way up to Berlin. How many generals did we have involved? Ike, Patton, Omar Bradley, Beetle Smith.
There were a lot more than you think.
Right, but I mean, how many in total on theater?
100?
You think so?
Yeah. Well, you got to remember, they start at 1 star, 2 star, 3 star. Patton was a 4 or 3.
He was a 2.
There's exponentially more lower ranked generals than there are high ranked generals.
Sure. That's
So for one,
you know what? That's the
every
homework
one
assignment of the day.
4-star general,
That's the homework
there's
assignment
probably
of the day.
5 1-stars.
How many generals were in theater during World War II Europe for the U.S.? Wait, really? That doesn't make any sense. I don't know why I'm looking this up right now. I swear it said 9. We'll go with that. We'll go with 9 for now. But I'll look it up. I'll look up the details and I'll update this later. I'm just fascinated with the idea. I mean, this is one conflict in one small country in Europe, and they've committed 5 generals, a field level colonel, and the Black Sea deputy commander. Like, that's huge, right? That's got to be huge. They can't have much left, especially since they're bringing in cadets. I'll look that up later.
The Russians have always been bloated with generals. Because you get the general that's in charge of, these weapons. You get the general in charge of this tank battalion. They always had way more generals than they actually needed.
Oh, never mind. 1,100.
U.S. generals or everybody?
Yeah. U.S. generals, 1,100. That's a lot. Okay. Maybe the Russians aren't losing as much as I thought. Okay. Still, I mean, Symbolically, it's
But you
still
can
big.
guarantee 90% of them probably suck
Well,
at
either
their
way, I
job.
mean, even the symbolism of it's pretty devastating to everyone who served
Oh
under
yeah,
them. 1,100. Wow. You almost never hear about most of them, though.
no.
Hmm. Maybe Othios will do it with a World War II series or something. Oh no, freaking Indy Nidell's doing it, isn't he? Never mind.
Hmm.
All right, let's move on. I've only got like 2 stories left for you guys, and then I'll let you all go. 3 stories actually. Sorry. All right, so I got rid of the picture. I think that was the last picture. Yeah. So we should be able to get through these pretty quickly. Evening descends. It's 10 o'clock Ukrainian time. So we're almost to day 26 already. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy warned of a third world war if peace talks with Russia fail during a television interview that he participated in Sunday, today. Zelenskyy said that any format should be used in order to have a possibility of negotiating with Russia, in particular, President Putin. So he's saying he'll do it any way he has to, but it needs to be done. I think that we have to use any format, any chance in order to have a possibility of negotiating, possibility of even talking to Putin directly. But if these attempts fail, that would mean that this is a third world war. If there is just a 1% chance for us to stop it, I think we need to take that chance. We need to do that, he added. The president of Ukraine also said that without negotiations, he does not believe the war will ever end. I'm ready for negotiations with him. I was ready over 2 years ago, and I think that without negotiations, we cannot end the war. In terms of negotiations, Zelenskyy said that he would not give up any territorial integrity or Ukraine's sovereignty. There are compromises for which we cannot be ready as an independent state. Any compromises related to our territorial integrity and our sovereignty and the Ukrainian people have spoken about it. They have not greeted Russian soldiers with a bunch of flowers. They have greeted them with bravery. They have greeted them with weapons in their hands, he said. Zelenskyy also says that there would be no war if Ukraine would have already been a NATO member, and his repeated calls, he repeated his call for the country to be accepted into the organization. I would like to receive security guarantees for my country and for my people. If NATO members are ready to see us in the alliance, then you should do it immediately, because people are dying in my country on a daily basis. Now, some of you are listening to that and go, duh, that's common sense. And I would have told you the same thing. As a matter of fact, if you go back to the very first War Room, 24 episodes ago, you will hear me say that this entire war was completely preventable if we knew, and we did know, we knew since March of last year that Russia was building forces along the border and making deals with Belarus and installing soldiers in Moldova because they couldn't stop it, and building up forces in Crimea and moving ships into the Black Sea. We knew this for a full year today. We knew this. And we also knew that Ukraine has been desperate to try to get into NATO for the last 8 years. No, sorry, 6 years. My bad. No, it is 8 years. For the last 8 years. The first deal that we struck, NATO, with Ukraine was, well, show us that you're serious about joining us. Disarm your nuclear arsenal. Show us that you're going to be a part of us by disarming your nuclear arsenal. And don't worry, if you do, and we let you in, you've got nothing to be afraid of, because we'll protect you. That's what part of being in NATO is all about. And he goes, Ukraine says, okay, that sounds good to me. We can do that. So they put their neck out there and did their display of good faith to join this group. And in 8 years, they lost Crimea, and they still haven't gotten any protection. Do you really want to join that group after they've sat back basically and watched your country die slowly and methodically as your cities got destroyed? Did you know that over 80% of the city of Mariupol is complete rubble now? They won't be able. You can't fix that city. You have to rebuild it from scratch. There's nothing left. That's what Putin does. Total war. And we all sit back and watch. It's shameful. We wanted those guys in. I just noticed something. I forgot to fix the scroller, didn't I?
Mm-hmm.
I put day 24, didn't I? I'm such an idiot. Yeah, I'll fix that. Sorry. Got it all the way to the end. Forgot to fix the day. There you go. My mistake. Now it works. Anyway, his country's dying. Everyone else is talking. His people are fighting. Everyone else is playing war games in the forests of Germany right now, or Slovakia, or Hungary, or Romania. Poland can't even do war games right now. They're too busy taking on 2 million people. The new statistics are sobering. We went from 3.2 million to almost 3.4 million in 48 hours. 200,000 more. They just keep flooding in. The latest statistic is 10 million Ukrainian people are either displaced, dead, or have left the country. That's 1/4 their entire population. Figure the middle fourth, or the middle half, are men of fighting age that are trying to defend their country. And then the last fourth are just stubborn, sick, or old and can't move. And they're going to be vaporized. Oh, I put the cart before the horse, didn't I? Sorry. Don't worry, we'll get to that part in a second. So now it is another hour has gone by. It's 4 o'clock my time. And it's 11:03 in Moscow. And the Russian Defense Ministry has issued a statement and demands the surrender of Mariupol by 5 a.m. March 21st. That is 3 hours from right now. Three hours from now, they demand the surrender of Mariupol. There's only 20% of the city left, and they still want them to surrender formally. There's a theater with 1,300 people slowly starving and suffocating to death underneath the rubble of the building in Mariupol. They can't surrender. They're stuck. They can't get out. Anyway, so they said that they're demanding the surrender according to Russian state media, warning those authorities that remain will be, quote, with the bandits. The report also says that Russia will allow for a humanitarian corridor for civilians who wish to leave the city on Sunday, where food and medical attention will be provided to those looking to leave the city. Yeah, because that worked out so well the last 3 or 4 times, didn't it? You know, where they started lining people up on the road in a traffic jam and then started shelling the highway. Yeah, that worked out real well. So anyway, the question I have is this countdown to Armageddon for them, for Ukraine? Why do you say you have until this time to surrender? Or what? What's the or else? Now that we know that they fired their Dagger missiles twice, at least twice, in country, what are they going to do with the third one tomorrow? What are they going to do with the third one in 3 hours, rather? Because the demand is by 5 a.m. That's 3 hours away over there. It's 2 a.m. right now. Sorry, it's 1:51 a.m. over there right now. Sorry, it's 2:51 a.m. over there. So they have 2 hours and 9 minutes. What's the or else? Are we going to wake up tomorrow and find out? Geiger counters everywhere went through the roof? Or are they just going to fire like a shit ton of conventional warheads with those missiles and just take out the last 20% of the city? Or do they want to be really evil and hit the top of the rubble pile of that theater, knowing that there's 1,300 people, mainly children and women and old people, in there, and hit it again and again and again to make sure that you get the message that they're not fucking around anymore? Because I mean, that's the kind of people they are, right? That's the kind of war they're waging. I mean, what would you do? What would we do? Right? What if we had a bomb shelter? What if Cheyenne Mountain Complex got hit with enough bunker busters to collapse the mountain on top of it? And then you can get to them. You can hear them banging away like they're trapped underwater almost, right? You can hear them trying to communicate out. But every time you try to go rescue them, you get attacked. You get shelled. You get mortared. You get hit with airstrikes. You can't get in. So, what do? And then you get an or else ultimatum. Surrender or else. Or else what? And then they just hit the mountain again to make sure that whatever was underneath it is dead. Like, what? Those people didn't have a chance, but they did that anyway just to make a point. To be thorough. To make you absolutely sure what their intentions were, without a doubt. That's what evil looks like. That's what Russian evil looks like. But I guess we won't know until, well, 2 hours and 7 minutes from now. Anyway. I'm just trying to get you guys to think. I mean, that's all conjecture. But if something does happen, just remember we had this conversation. My final story for you today, because we have entered Ukrainian time, day 26, 1:10 a.m. Ukraine has informed the IAEA, International Atomic Energy Agency, that many of the staff that were forced to stay at Chernobyl nuclear power plant amid Russia's takeover of the facility have finally been allowed to return home. A group of 46 employees rotated into the facility and started a shift on Sunday, according to those reporting. They actually reported it directly to Fox on this one, strangely enough. It is unclear how long the employees will stay to operate the plant. They spoke to a family whose father was at the plant since February 24th, and he's finally now at home and resting. According to him, the group of 46 employees started their shift today. However, it's unclear how long the current group will be there. It is positive, albeit long overdue, it is a positive, albeit long overdue development that some staff at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant have now rotated and returned to their families. They deserve our full respect and admiration for having worked in these extremely difficult circumstances. This came from IAEA's Director General Rafael Grossi. Those people were stuck in there for what, 3.5 weeks? No. Today was the day they rotated out. So it was 26 days. 26 days stuck at work. Think of your job. Think of my job, especially those of you who are in my Discord and hang out in the lobby. You know who I call the warden. You know how annoyed I get with some of my coworkers. You know that George and I always plot their demise if we ever go to war with, the rest of the world, and we have to do our great patriotic duties. Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, you know all that, right? So, it's obviously a joke. Anyway, I could not imagine. Well, I'll tell you what, if I was stuck at my work with the warden for 26 days, she'd have been dead on day 3.
I'm surprised it would have taken that long.
Well, I would try my best to tolerate. But if I was stuck there against my will for 26 days, are you kidding me? I don't know. Most people's work, you're stuck there against your will for a paycheck. Anyway, yeah, those guys finally rotated out. I want to know. I want to see them. I want to see photos of these guys that came home. I want to see what they look like before and after. I want to see how much weight they lost. I want to see how ashen their faces are. I want to see blood tests to make sure that they haven't been hit with radiation and they're dying slowly because they've been stuck there in poor conditions. How rotten their teeth are, if they've been beaten while they were, in there. I'd like to know those things. That's a good question to ask. What are the condition of those men who rotated out? What are the condition of the men that are going in? Did they take photos of those guys, the befores, so they can have an after shot later? Were they told how long they're going to be stuck in there? Were there assurances made? Look, we're going to swap you guys out. We just need you to keep the place rolling. We'll bring in food. We're sorry you can't leave, but we've set up places so you can sleep here. Like, are they accommodated? Are they financially accommodated? That's another question. Who's paying their salaries right now? Or are they getting paid? Or are they just working under duress with AKs at their backs? PKMs, DP-20s.
I'll go with that option.
It's hard to say. I don't know. See, on the one hand, we've got the International Space Station, and we've got 3 new Russian cosmonauts who docked yesterday. And in a show of solidarity for the world, they wore the Ukrainian colors up there. Chances are they'll never be allowed to come back down. But if they do,
they'll instantly go to jail.
Well, they dealt the world a solid, is what I'm saying. Because those guys are all scientists. They're not military men up there, as far as we know. They're all scientists. They're men of science, men and women of science. They're up there hopefully because they're better than us. And what I mean by that is societally. They want to get off this rock. They want to spread, right? Like, you've heard me say that humanity is cancer. We are born, we consume our host, the Earth, and if we don't find a new host, then when the host dies, so will we. So their men of science are trying to figure out how to get us to spread before it's too late. That's the simplest way to put it. They don't care about the international bickering of one planet if they can get us spread out to tens of millions of them. Because that's the ultimate goal, isn't it? Humanity has to have a goal. The goal is keep going. It's a simple goal. Keep going. That just, you leave it open-ended too. Go where? You go that way, you go that way. You discover that galaxy, you discover that galaxy. You make a bunch of babies, you invent the new firearm that's going to change the world. You find a cure for cancer, you marry Octomom and everyone laughs at you. Just keep going instead of bickering with one another, fighting over things as stupid as what color your skin is. God, I mean, humanity's fucking dumb. They fight over shit that dumb.
Anyway. They fight over less than that.
Yeah, they do. That's why I have a wood chipper with their name on it. Anyway, it's been an hour, just about. And I don't have any other stories for you. And it's Sunday night, and I'm sure you all have things to do. So, to keep you from losing your sanity, as I've just lost mine talking about space, which is something fascinating to me, maybe not to you, I'm going to play this. And I'm going to live up to my promise that I kept it to an hour. And I want to thank you all for watching and spending your Sundays with us. Thank you to Scott for showing up on a Sunday evening to do this. Thank you, the audience, for coming in to listen. If you're new to my channel, welcome. If you're a regular here, welcome back. Either way, maybe check out my other playlists and see if my other interests might be of interest to you. This is really all I've got for you today. But I will have more for you. I will edit another firearms review because I've already recorded 6 of them. So you'll have that to look forward to next Sunday. But for now, thanks for watching. This was the War Room, day 25. And hopefully tomorrow for day 26, I'll have the show polished exactly the way it's supposed to be, with the right date and the right statistics, and I'll be in the right Discord channel. Good night, guys. Slava Ukraini.